The content you're about to enjoy comes from the archives of The Best You. We're devoted to the very best in personal development. With a magazine and resources dedicated to inspiring and changing people's lives, at The Best You, we work with the world's leading writers and trainers on the evolution of the self, and people whose journeys have been affected by their work and words. For more information, go to www.thebestyou.co. Hey guys, how are you? Running a few minutes late. So much happening at the Best You EXPO. I've just been on a panel with 6 or 8 people and we were trying to finish on time, but hey, here we are. It's been an amazing day. We've interviewed some great people this morning. Doug Ivanovich, Sharon Lecter, Didi Wong, and Sarah Davison. It's been amazing. And we're going on. And right now I've got Dave Meltzer, who joined us, I think it was yesterday. It's all a little bit of a blur. I think it was yesterday. Dave joined us to kind of tell us how basically he's got this wardrobe, this cupboard, and he's just been working in there for quite some time. But I'm excited to have him here for him to share his expertise. David, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. I've got to say, your wardrobe is looking $1 million.
It's easy when it's virtual, right? There's no wrinkles growing from travel.
Well, listen, thank you so much for being here. So Dave Meltzer, he's a 3-time international best-selling author and top 100 business coach, the executive producer of Entrepreneur's #1 digital business show, Elevator Pitch, and host of the top entrepreneurial podcast, The Playbook. His newest book, Game Time Decision Making, was a #1 release. David has been recognized by Variety magazine as their Sports Humanitarian of the Year, awarded the Ellis Island Medal of Honor, and most recently at the Super Bowl, David was honored as the most valuable philanthropist. David, thank you so much for being here, and we're honored to have you sharing some wisdom at the Expo. So the floor is yours. I don't want to delay any further. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Bernardo. What a great event, and participating has been such a treat to know that we can still reach so many people virtually. Today, what I'm going to talk about is finding your frequency, building your audience. Never more than before is building your own brand so important. And there's a lot of things that I've learned, situational knowledge, experience, dummy tax that I've paid that has helped enable me to build a brand and find that frequency. When I talk about finding frequency, what I'm really talking about is understanding 3 things. 3 things determine your vibration, and your vibration when you are just like a big satellite that's sending signals out, and other people are like radio stations. They are either tuned into your station or not. And it's not just whether they hear you, it's also whether they remember you, and even furthermore, whether they understand you. And so the first thing that we need to do to find our frequency is to be ourselves. I know there's a lot of play on being authentic and original. Well, the only way to be original or authentic is to be you. You are the only one of you that exists. You have your own individual fingerprint. And that is indicative as a signal of your own frequency. So the first lesson is we don't want to try to please everybody. We don't need to reach all 4.4 billion people and growing on social media with our frequency. You can be you, and I promise you there's a ton of people who want to tune in to you. What you say resonates with them. This is clearly indicative of people who are, opening toys and millions of people watch, or cleaning their toenails, or pimple popping. These are all authentic, original things that are specialties or expertise or frequencies that people tune into. And I see one of the biggest mistakes is people try to extend the strength of their signal far past what they are. And that signal, we need not only to have a strong signal of who you are, a true vibration of who you are, but we also have to understand our spectrum. And that spectrum will grow, but we want to understand our audience of who those people are that are tuning in. And as marketers, we want to be able to create lookalikes of those people, avatars of those people, so that we're utilizing that huge pool, that huge database, that huge exposure and awareness specifically to an audience that is more likely to tune in to our frequency. The final one, and most important, is clarity of message. So many times it's not what we say, it's what they hear. And we discount how important practice is in order to clarify a message. It may sound good to us. It may sound reasonable to us. We may understand it because we've said it 1,000 times. But anyone that is a parent of teenagers knows it's not what we say, it's what they hear. And in order to overcome that resistance, that void, shortage, and obstacle that is always omnipresent when we are finding our frequency, the only solution to that is practice. And the more in-person practice that we get, the more email practice of the clear message that we get, the more text and phone practice that we get, and of course, media practice, radio, print, TV, social media. All of that practice will help give us greater clarity, which will hone in that frequency to reach our specific avatars or lookalike in a spectrum in order to effectuate the resonance that's necessary to build ambassadorship, an audience, a community in which will consistently compound in its growth as you build that brand by utilizing and understanding your frequency. One of the first steps to know your frequency is a tool that I use, which is take inventory of my values every day. In order to find your authentic self, your original self, your own frequency, you have to know what's important or what you value. And the number one rule about those values is you cannot be afraid of being a hypocrite. In fact, you want to illuminate, make yourself human, connect emotionally. People buy on emotion for logical reasons. You want to be able to elevate and illuminate the changes that occur, the acceleration and growth. So don't be afraid to be a hypocrite. Don't be afraid to say that you didn't know what you didn't know and what you said yesterday was not right. It will make people feel good. You will open and spread out that spectrum. Your message will become clear to others. It will resonate more through the highest vibration, which is truth. And the truth is, we would rather be around people who are accelerating, growing, and are humble enough to know that they are learning, that there are people who find the light, the love, and the lessons in everything you do, and that they do. And that's really important. So to take inventory, you have to know of your values, what 4 values those are. And the first is know your personal values. What is important for you? Right? We don't want to please everybody else. We don't want to vote for what other people want for us. One of the biggest concerns that I have is all the people out there trying to vote for what other people want for them. And then even if they elect what other people want for them, they end up resenting them because it's not what they want. You need to know your personal values to know your what. And if you know your what, you will have a much better understanding of the spectrum you're trying to reach, the strength of your signal will increase, and your message will be even clearer than it was before. So take inventories of your personal values, your family, love, education, integrity, whatever it may be. Secondly, take inventory of your experiential values. Take inventory of what you want to experience each day and share those experiences that are unique to you, authentic to you, original to you. And also your giving values. How much value are you providing to others? How can you be of service or of value to others? And finally, your receiving values. You've got to have and ask. Now, you can't ask out the universe, and I don't think you can ask out people. So many people think of other people as gatekeepers. I've shifted that paradigm. I believe everybody, especially in social media, is a sponsor or a power sponsor of yours. So you need to ask every day. You need to ask, do you know anybody that can help me in order to spread out that spectrum, to create the virality, the viral nature of your own clear, strong spectrum that you're trying to reach? So if you take inventory of your values each day, not being afraid of being a hypocrite, you'll be able to continue to practice strengthening that signal. The next thing is we have to understand the 3 components of your frequency. The first is the actual content that you have. And that content needs to be captured every single day. And you want to make sure that you're capturing your authentic self. Let me share a quick story of when I learned this lesson. One of my media heads we flew to Madrid. And we had some travel difficulties, and I was speaking in front of the Entrepreneur Association of Spain, huge event. And because of the travel, we missed the event. My understanding of media at the time was to go ahead and create or recreate a message or a frequency. And I was going to go in there and go ahead and give the speech to no one, just to create the content on their beautiful stage with the Entrepreneurs of Spain logos behind me. And I was going to redo or recreate something that wasn't authentic. And the head of my media said, no, let's not do that. Instead, let's create content about being accountable. Let's do a video about what has happened and how and what you did to re-engineer and to take advantage of the mishaps that had occurred. That authentic, original content was much more powerful than just another speech on a stage. And those are the type of things that people do when they're standing in front of, cars that they don't own and houses that they're leasing with people that they don't even like, buying things they don't even need. The energy, the frequency is off. It's not clear or strong to a specific spectrum. Remember, the truth vibrates the fastest, and that people can only be aware of that which vibrates equal to or less than them. And so you want to make sure that you are practicing the type of content that represents who you are authentically. Access is the second area. How and who accesses your content is extremely important. So we have to educate ourselves in person. How do people access my content? On the phone, how are they accessing my content? In email, how are they accessing my content? And then all forms of media, radio, print, TV, social media. How are people accessing it? What time does the access take? Are people accessing it when they're in the car? Are they walking? Are they working out? Are they sitting on the couch? Whatever it is, we want to determine not only the frequency of the content, but how people and where people and when people are accessing it. And then finally, we need to have an understanding of the mediums in which people are enjoying and interacting with our content. We want to understand all the different formats and mediums, from VR to AI to AR to TVs to handhelds to iPads to any other new device that may be out there. Those devices will change. Now, out of all three of those, once again, the most important thing is the content. Content, good content, great content lasts forever, and it will keep on lasting forever. I always use Walt Disney as a classic example. In the 40s, Walt Disney created a whistling mouse on Steamboat Willie. And still today, if you go on YouTube and look up the Mickey Mouse Club, there's 470 million views. Why? Because Mickey Mouse has a clear, strong spectrum. It's an authentic, powerful content that can be accessed anywhere, anytime, in all types of different manners that I promise you Walt Disney never even imagined. And it appears on all types of mediums that never existed or could even be thought of in the 1940s, when there was a black and white flip chart mouse that was whistling on a ship. And so we want to make sure that we understand the content that we have, that we're going through that content, the access and the mediums, looking at 5 different things in order to create what Walt Disney was able to create, a perpetuity of great content that's distributed worldwide and monetized as well. The first thing that we want to look at is credibility of content. Credibility is the number one thing that people forget about. It's the number one thing, most powerful thing in the world. And I'll tell you why. Because if your content is 100% credible, then you don't have to say anything else. There's no void, shortages, obstacles, resistance, skepticism, haters. 100%. In sales, I teach the same thing. If you're 100% credible, you don't need to be anything else, because I could just tell you, you pay $2 million for this and you'll make more money than you pay, and you'll 100% hold me credible and do it. The same thing is true about content. Make sure it's authentic and credible. It's the most important thing. The internet, it doesn't lie. It will find the truth will come out sooner or later. So make sure when you're putting up that content that it's credible.
For complimentary resources from my book, my complimentary e-course, The Power of the Question, or recommended reads, go to www.thequestion.com/resources. For more information on my coaching or mentoring, go to www.bernardo-moya.com.
The second thing that you want to do in order to create the viral nature of content is simply understand emotion, right? People buy on emotion for logical reasons. We want to not just tell a story and teach lessons. We want to make somebody feel a certain way. Maya Angelou said, people won't remember what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. That emotional connection is so important. So not only go through your content with a fine-tooth comb of credibility, but also of emotional frequency, of how it makes people feel. People want to be moved. They want to be connected. And the best way that we unify everyone and everything is through emotion, energy and motion, the way that we feel. The last three are always overlooked, but I utilize it because I believe that there is a blend between subjective value and quantitative value. And to allow that frequency that we're talking about to have a strong signal, a clear message to the spectrum we want, it actually needs to have quantitative value. It has to be able to live the long test of time. A lot of people in content, I call it, they live in the Barney world. And everybody probably remembers the purple dinosaur Barney, right? I love you, you love me, nobody makes any money with a knick-knack, paddywhack. Everyone's going broke. That's because they don't know social media is a joke. It's not if you use quantitative value. These dancing TikTok videos, etc., for the very few of the millions that actually create a following for whatever reason, they are able to have product placement and create a quantitative value from exposure to an audience. But as a whole, only 0.0001% of the people have an audience big enough to monetize by holding or wearing or showing something. For the rest of us, what we want to focus in on is quantitative value. We want to make sure our videos convey a quantitative reason why to watch it, an impact, a quantitative impact of what change is going to occur inside or outside of me. And then maybe a capability that you're enhancing or increasing. And some sort of quantitative value will allow a growth, an exponential growth of what you're doing. And so if you go through with a fine-tooth comb of your content, the credibility, allow for people to feel what you're talking about, that emotional connection, and don't be a purple dinosaur. Create quantitative, valuable content, ones that talk about reasons to watch it, impacts that it's going to have, and capabilities that will increase in our own lives. The next thing to think about is something that's been around a long time as well, even longer than Disney, and probably from someone whose content is shared even more than Disney, a gentleman named Shakespeare. Shakespeare, to me, had the best piece of advice for especially social media. Shakespeare said, the whole world is your stage. If any advice that I give is building your brand and finding your frequency, is to understand the entire world is your stage. And in order to make the entire world your stage, you need to understand 4 components of doing that. Now, obviously, in the sports world, we're learning at an accelerated pace that the whole world is our stage, that sports don't need an audience, that here the entire pitch of a football game can be a stage. Arenas can be staged. I saw Joel Osteen doing his deal at the Rockets old facility, and in an empty 20,000 person arena. The whole world is your stage. So how do we take advantage of capturing our authentic self, of our frequency? Number one, we need to understand capture. What is it during my day that shows or illustrates or conveys my frequency with that credibility, emotional attachment, reasons, impacts, and capabilities? What is it that I'm going to capture today? Interviews, speeches, phone calls, me walking on the street, playing with my kids, whatever it may be that best shows your authentic self. And we should be capturing as much content as we can during the day. Because the next step in order to create the stage theory is to modify. The more content that we have, the more ability we have to modify the content to utilize in a variety of different platforms in a variety of different ways, not just today, not just tomorrow, but in perpetuity. And so not only do we want to capture all the content and create a plan, but we want to have a modification plan of that content and then an amplification plan. Now I have a new TV show coming on, a new pitch show going to be on Bloomberg. And, my kids were like, well, Dad, nobody watches TV. And I said, well, a lot of people still do watch TV, but why wouldn't I do another TV show? Because every TV show is content that I can amplify, modify, and perpetuate wherever I want it to be. I get extended use by having a TV show. It's one of the most valuable. I could, I get a full page thing in Entrepreneur Magazine all the time. And, I don't know how many people read the actual magazine, but I have more content of, fun little things at a newsstand where I walk up and maybe Venus Williams is on the cover and I'll tell it to the guy holding it. I go, hey, do you know who that woman is? And I'll look at it, oh yeah, Venus Williams, she's a great tennis player. And I'll open up to the page where my stuff is in Entrepreneur Magazine. I'll say, do you know who that is? And I'll get their reaction and they'll make fun of you. I'll do self-deprecating humor or something to illuminate. That's great content, but it doesn't exist unless I have print. Right? People would be crazy if they think about who or what spectrum that I'm trying to reach with print. For me, the whole world is a stage. Anything I do can be captured, modified, and amplified. And if done in the right way, it just creates compound interest, acceleration, and growth to an extraordinary extent. And then the last thing to me is most important. We capture, we modify, we amplify, and then we perpetuate our content. More than ever now, content is consumed in a perpetual manner. It may be 1 year from now, 10 years from now. I walk into my house and I see my kids watching an old show that I used to watch at 4 p.m. on CBS when I was coming home from high school with Alan Alda called MASH. It was one of the most viewed programs every Tuesday night or whatever. But I watched them binge watching, years and years of content because it's captured, modified, amplified, and perpetuated and still monetized today. Each piece of content that you create could be your annuity. It may not be popular today, but if you stay and enjoy the consistent everyday, persistent, without quit pursuit of your potential within finding your frequency and building your brand and building your community, it's just a matter of time. Once people hear, feel, and see you, that they're going to want to go back from the start. And more people will watch content that you did last year than you ever could imagine. So make sure that you have an additional strategy to perpetuate your content in a means, and that will allow you to figure out, how do I monetize this content as a collective, as an aggregate of the strength of my signal that keeps on getting stronger, of the spectrum of people that it resonates with. And it gets even more finite of who that avatar or lookalike is in order to market specifically to the people that statistically will have a better resonance with what you're saying. And of course, the clarity of message, to go back and see the evolution of the hip hypocrite that you are by continually every day taking inventory of your values and seeing how your content and lessons have evolved. One of the hardest part about writing a book is now they require you, or most publishers do, to do your own audiobook. Well, by the time you've done all the research, outlined the book, written the book, edited the book, produced the book, and then finally get to do your audio of the book, your ideas have expanded and accelerated far beyond the book. So one of the most difficult parts of writing a book is reading out loud your own book and trying not to stop and say, oh, that's not true. Oh, I don't want to say that. But you have to understand that information is perpetual. And the strategy of perpetuation and monetization are crucial in the exploration of building a brand, building a community, finding your frequency, allowing people to know the authentic, organic self by showing the growth and evolution and understanding, by showing the light, the love, and the lessons that you've learned throughout the content creation. Now, most people, they try to start to find their frequency, and they try to build a brand. They try to build a community. But one thing stands in their way, and it's them. Unfortunately, in the community of brand building and community building and frequency, 99% of the people quit before they're 25% of the way there. And of the 1% that continues on, another 99% quits before they're 50% of the way there. And then of the 1% of the 1%, they get to enjoy the hockey stick. They get to enjoy the acceleration and growth. The 1% of the 1% who don't quit. With the 1.4 million podcasts, for example, out there, 99.9% of all podcasts, 1.4 million of them, and growing every day, have 100 downloads or less. And I'll tell you why. Because they're looking for followers. They're looking for followers, and they may think they have the persistence, but they absolutely don't have the patience. What they have to learn is something called segmentation. Segmentation gives you the ability to overcome the weak senses that you have. So your eyes, nose, ears, mouth, taste, and touch, they're faulty systems. They let us down. They can't see, hear, taste, or feel everything. And even worse, our memories. They're even worse. We can't remember hardly anything. On the forefront of our mind, we usually can remember about 3 to 5 things. That's it, unless, of course, you're taking Jim Quick's course, and then you can do a lot more. But we need to not trust our senses. We need to not trust our memories. What we need to trust and have faith in is ourselves, our frequency, our ability to build a brand, a community, and our patience and faith in order to do that. 3.5 years ago at the Super Bowl, I decided to build my brand. I'd spent the last 20 years with Lee Steinberg Sports and Entertainment, one of the most notable sports agencies in the world. Most people know Lee from the movie Jerry Maguire, building other people's brand. And then over the last decade with Hall of Fame quarterback Warren Moon, once again, marketing and media with Sports One Marketing, building brands. About 3.5 years ago, I decided that I would be my own Bud Light. I would use my own frequency with books and speeches and executive coaching and podcasts and movies and TV and all the different things that I was able to do. I was going to brand myself. And so, as usual, when I want to do something now, compared to when I was young and I knew everything, now I'm old and I know nothing, I went and found the person that sits in the situation that I want to be in. And I was blessed because I had something to be of value to this person. His name is Gary Vaynerchuk. He's one of the most extraordinary brand builders that I know. And fortunately, his younger brother and he wanted to build a sports agency. So I offered him my services as a consultant to understand how to build that sports agency and asked him to trade to help me. And asked him if he thought it was possible that a 50-year-old middle-aged mutant turtle like myself could build a brand and build an ambassadorship to build a community. His first question to me was, what's an ambassadorship? And I said, an ambassadorship for me is and I'll take segmentations of a year. I would like 2 people in the end of my first year that are ambassadors of mine. I would love to see 2 people that are telling at least 2 people a year that you must buy Dave Meltzer's books, go listen to him speak, watch his TV show Elevator Pitch, or my podcast, The Playbook, or get coaching, free coaching I've done for 20 years every Friday. And you can watch the replays for free, but something for 20 years, go do it. 2 ambassadors getting 2 people a year. And Gary said, so that's what you want, 2 people a year to get 2 more people a year that will watch, see, hear, and tell other people to watch, see, and hear you do what you do. And I said, yeah. And he said, well, what's your outcome? What's your objective? I said, my objective is to be one of the most influential empowerment people on earth. I want to empower over 1 billion people to be happy in my lifetime. He said, really? And you're going to get there with 2 ambassadors a year, telling 2 more ambassadors that'll get 2 more. I said, yeah, that works. And so I talked through the math, and I used this story to explain to him. I said, imagine that my brand was a lily pond. And I came to you today and I said, I have 1 lily in my lily pond, but my lilies are going to double every single year. And it's going to take me 20 years. So when I'm 70 years old, Gary, when I'm 70 years old, my lily pond's going to be full. I'm going to be able to empower over 1 billion people to be happy. I'll be set on my way. I will have a strong signal. I'll know my spectrum. I'll have a clearer message than ever, and it will resonate and inspire more and more people and empower more and more people. And I said to Gary, I said, how long do you think it'll take till I'm halfway there? And without thinking, Gary's really quick. He said, 10 years. And I said, no, actually, it takes 19 years. That's why 99% of people quit before 25% of the way there. And of the 1%, 99% of the people quit from that 1% of the way there as well. Because they don't understand, they can't see, taste, smell, and hear and touch exponential growth and acceleration. It's like watching your kids grow. You don't see it, but when you have to go get them tennis shoes, they don't fit. You need to be extremely patient and faithful. You need to have faith in who? In yourself. You need to learn to love you and continue to grow that brand. Because what's going to happen is people are going to laugh at you, scoff at you, and make fun of you. One of my mentees who's a keynote here today, Dee Dee Wong, this is the first lesson that she learned. Because she had, those people that we call friends and family that were voting for what they wanted for her. Safety, security, all those things that they wanted for her. But she decided to vote for herself. She decided to vote for herself because she knew, like I told her, you're going to accelerate and grow. Compound interest will occur. You keep practicing. You keep doing what you're going to do. You will build that ambassadorship 2 by 2 by 2. And don't listen to the people that laugh at you, scoff at you, make fun of you, because in the end, they'll applaud you. And I've been blessed to be there when all the family and friends were applauding Dee Dee as she stuck to it, as people were making fun, laughing, scoffing, asking her who and what she would do as a mother of 4. It's just incredible what people were voting for. So you have to understand that ambassadorship, that it does take a lot of time to double and double and double. But what happens after 20 years and you're 21, instead of just 2 million people getting 2 million, you have 4 million getting 4 million, 16 million getting 16 million. And in another short 20 years, it becomes 2 billion people getting 2 billion people, creating an unbelievable, extraordinary annuity and change. Now, the other interesting thing about consistent, persistent behavior, having faith and patience in that blend and building your brand in your community, is that time accelerates beyond the growth doubling. So first you get exponential growth by sticking to it and learning and building ambassadorship. But the second thing is it normally doesn't take 20 years. That's why I call it segmentation. Segmentation is considering the acceleration, meaning year 1, you can double. So you go from 1 lily to 2 lilies in 1 year. You get to 4 lilies in 11 months, 8 lilies in 10 months. And sure enough, in year 13, you're moving into weeks. And once again, by the 20th year, you're working in days, that you're doubling. So you get the benefit by having faith and not quitting and honing your skills, strengthening your signal, figuring out your avatars and lookalikes of your spectrum, and clarifying your message of not only getting exponential growth, but also acceleration. Things will happen faster. And guess what? That 0.001% that hang on, the others are just educating the market. Because as much as we think so many people are on these different platforms, it's growing exponentially as well. And the more people that are putting out the content that are going to quit are just educating more ambassadors of the medium and the access to be utilized for what? For the quality content, the higher vibrating content, the frequency content, the authentic, organic community building, brand building content that is captured correctly, modified geniusly, amplified aggressively, and perpetuated economically to monetize it. Creating, you not only have to work hard, you have to work smart, but you also have to work long and have that segmentation philosophy. One of the other questions in building a brand is how much content? Now, this one's very tricky because years ago when I was with Gary, he kept telling me every time I talked to him, you need more content. Meanwhile, everyone I knew was making fun of me, scoffing at me, asking me, why are you doing so much content? You're annoying. You're bothering me, dude. As a friend, just stop it. People would make fun of me. Where are you speaking today? In the bathroom? There's all kinds of great stories I have from 3 years ago. Now they're applauding. And the best thing about it, it's taken me this long to learn the most valuable lesson about the quantity of quality content.
For more information on collaborating, partnering, sponsoring, supporting, or speaking at any of our events, or finding out more about our legacy clubs, go to www.thebestyou.co. If you're interested in finding out more about the amazing content we have, please go to www.thebestyou.online and get your 14-day free trial now.
You cannot out-ask the universe. Just remember that. Whatever you're going to do, you cannot out-ask the universe. You cannot outpost the internet. Let me just tell you right now that what's going to happen when you start posting enough, and I'm not talking about minimal enough is what I'm talking about. When you start posting the minimum of enough, you are going to annoy, piss off, and get crap from the people who love you, the people who like you, and the people who don't like you and hate you. And so if you haven't annoyed or pissed off the people that love you, the people that like you, the people that don't like you or hate you, you're not putting nearly enough content out. I always tell people one of the best things that you can do as you're building your brand and building your community is unsubscribe all the people that like and love you. Keep the people that hate you and don't like you. They're going to bring you more energy. They're going to elevate you. There's nothing more gratifying than watching your community come to your defense when somebody's an idiot, when somebody's a hater, when somebody's ignorant. It's so much fun for me. And, at first I had to kind of hold back my wife, especially in the head of my media, when someone would say, oh, you stole gratitude from Gary V. Well, actually, he stole it from my grandma because that's where I learned it. In fact, just to talk about gratitude real quickly, one of the other components of understanding how much content is, you need to know that there's suck in everything. And so you need to have 3 lenses when you are putting out this content. When you're reviewing with credibility, emotional attachment, quantifying the reasons, impacts, and capabilities, you need to have 3 lenses of your content because there's suck in everything, right? I have been around the greatest celebrities, athletes, entertainers, media people, billionaires, entrepreneurs, and guess what? There's the exact same amount of suck in their life that's in your life. The only difference is they use these 3 lenses and they end up in a better place, better situation. They are the chief betterment officer of not only their own frequency, but the capture, amplification, modification, and perpetuation of that content as well of themselves. And in order to do that, you have to know, number 1, how productive is your content? That's the first lens. In other words, how much value Is it providing, right? We don't want to be Barney. We don't want to have subjective value. We don't want to just hug people and make them feel good. We actually want to know how much value are we bringing with that quote, with that picture, with that cartoon, with that video, with that speech, with that book, with that podcast, with that interview, whatever it may be. How much value are you bringing? You got to look at everything with a lens of productivity, just like the greatest people. The second lens is a bifocal lens. You want to look at and see your capture. Is it accessible to everyone? Are everyone going to understand? One of the hardest things to do is to take highly complex, high vibrational issues, quantum physics, metaphysics come to mind, for example, and go ahead and explain them in a simple, straightforward manner so that it's accessible to everyone. And then more importantly than how accessible is the content is how are you accessing what you want? Part of the purpose of the content isn't just to empower others or empower others. It's to receive so you can empower more people to empower more people. You can't give what you don't have. You need to not give to receive that content, but you need to receive so you can give. Shift the paradigm. Understand that your content, you are an expression of genius. Right? You are an expression because you're connected to the greatest source of light, love, and lessons at all time. And your job is to clear the interference and let it come through with appreciation, to add value to it, to be gracious, but to add value and give it away, share it. Why? Because if you're able to do that, when they receive it, they'll be able to give it away. And that's what creates a bigger community. When people are sharing that frequency, it's not going to happen unless you have a lens of productivity and accessibility and understand the bifocal of it's not just being able to access all those people, but accessing what you want to come through you for those other people. The purpose, the passion, and the profitability all comes through me for others. That's exactly what the purpose or the why is of the what I'm trying to convey. And the last lens is extremely important. The last lens is the lens of gratitude. The lens of gratitude tells me that I'm supposed to take the suck and find the light, the love, and the lesson in the suck and be able to share that with other people. Right? Pain is an indicator. Pain is an indicator that you have a lesson to learn. And what you want to share with your content are the lessons that you've learned by utilizing stories. Pain is an indicator, just like a turn signal on a car. It's going to tell you, hey, dummy, you got a lesson to learn. There's a better way to do this, a better road to travel to get you to a better place or make your place better. You have to have that kaleidoscope, a lens of productivity, a lens of accessibility, and a lens of gratitude in order to find the light, the love, and the lessons. But one of the last components of building a brand, building a community, finding your frequency is there's really only one thing that stands in your way from your own true authentic self, your own original self, your own original authentic content that will have a strong signal, will speak to the spectrum you're trying to address, and lo and behold, they'll understand it with that clear message. And it's the ability for you to practice ending fear. That fear will be the reasons you don't succeed. It'll be the reason that you quit and join the 99% that quits before they're 25% of the way there, or the 99% of the 1% that quits before they're 50% of the way there. All of those people, which is the mass majority of people, they don't practice ending fear. To expose yourself, to raise the awareness of your frequency, to build a brand or a community at the level of content in which you have to produce by capturing, modifying, amplifying, perpetuating, it'll raise your awareness to your ego, which will edge the goodness out of your authenticity. So the 4 steps that are involved in doing that with your content, because that ego will create interference from your signal. It'll create a corrosion, not only between your genius, meaning your expression of what comes through you from the greatest source of love, light, lessons, and power, but also it will corrode the connection. It will slow down that accelerated exponential growth that we're after. That's what fear does. That's what ego does. Right? Ego, it can motivate you, But motivation from fear is a soul sucker. Motivation itself only lasts so long. We need to convert that motivation into inspiration. We need to clear the connection, the corrosion between us and that which we're connected to, so it can come through us for others and go viral. That's how we build a brand, a community, by that frequency. That's what strengthens our signal, clarifies our message, finds that spectrum. It's all ego. And we need to learn, number one, how to identify, by looking at my content, where is it creating interference, void shortages in my objective? Where is it showing my ego? Is this video, does it have a need to be right? A need to be offended? A need to be separate from other people? A need to be inferior of other people? A need to be superior? Does it have a need to be fearful, anxious, frustrated, angry? Right? When people hate on me and make negative comments, I always go to understanding and pray to their happiness. I will always give my cell phone directly and say, I appreciate what you're saying. I'd love to understand where you're coming from. Give me a call on my cell phone. 99% of the 99.9% of the people who are ignorant, arrogant, angry, attacking, judgmental, conditional, that I ask to call me on my cell phone, never do. And the 0.1% that do usually apologize that they're projecting some other insecurity, or fear, or anger that they have in their lives. And I end up having another ambassador when they talk to me, and I allow them and get understanding of where they're coming from and allow them and pray for their happiness. So the first thing is to be aware of that. Now, you have to be a ferocious Buddha when you realize that you're an ego-based consciousness, that your video is moving in the wrong direction. You need to understand that you have to stop. And that's why I created, this avatar much better than the purple dinosaur Barney, but mine's a ferocious Buddha, because there's nothing more ferocious than stopping. And then you have to drop. You need to breathe like a Buddha, find your center, learn your lesson, ask yourself, why do I feel this way? And then roll in the right trajectory. And if you can do that as a ferocious Buddha, to number one, identify, 2, stop, 3, drop, and then 4, roll, you will find that your frequency will extend farther and farther. The signal will be strengthened. The spectrum will be very obvious, as well as the clarity of your message will be there, and your stuff will go more and more viral. It will build and grow exponentially and accelerate, giving you a huge audience in order to empower others to be happy, and or whatever your mission may be. I'm going to share a quick story just to finish up here in the last few minutes. The subtlety of this in content is extraordinary, but more importantly, it's even greater in your life. And I'm going to use the last few minutes. I've been for 20 years doing free trainings on Friday. Everyone, please join me. Watch the replays, please. My email's right there, david@dmeltzer.com. You've got to know the subtleties of what I'm teaching, because it can create a completely different trajectory in your life. I'm going to share a quick personal story that relates back to building a brand by being your authentic self, by allowing yourself to know who you are and to vibrate the fastest. Remember, everything vibrates. The earth vibrates the slowest, then plants, animals, humans, sound, light, and then thought. And the greatest and highest vibrating thought is the truth. And remember, you can only be aware of that which vibrates equal to or less than you. So our goal is always to raise our frequency, to lessen the interference, the expression of genius we're part of, the greatest source of light, love, and lessons. We are clearing that connection and allowing it through appreciation to come with me to other people, for other people. I'm going to share a quick personal story. I believe in having 2 routines. You have a set routine when everything's normal in your life, and mine starts at 4 a.m. and it starts with meditation. Then I get ready, go to the gym, and then I come home and I do research. I study attention plus intention equals coincidence for interviews, speeches, books, podcasts, movies, TV, whatever I'm doing. Then I have an hour of family time, and then I execute it as a student on my calendar until about 4:45. Then I do coaching calls, and then I spend downtime again for an hour and a half with my family. Then I do an hour and a half of research again, and then I have an unwind routine. so that I can go to bed and make sure I'm passed out before 11 so I can wake up the next day at 4. But I also have an adaptable routine. And my adaptable routine is one that acknowledges that I'm a hypocrite, that I'm changing, that I don't have the greatest self-control and discipline. It's not perfect. And that people come into town and some days I don't feel 100%. And so I have some non-negotiables of my adaptable routine where, one, I spend a minimum of an hour a day on my health. 2, I spend a minimum of 30 minutes with my wife, 30 minutes with my son, a minimum of 2 minutes with 3 teenage daughters. I asked for 5, they gave me 2, and a minimum of 1 minute with my mom, and to tell her 4 things that can change your relationship with your mother. Tell her you're happy, healthy, love her, and appreciate her. That's it. Spend every day doing that. Remember, 2 minutes a day is worth more than 2 hours on a Saturday. Remember that. 2 pieces of content a day is worth more than 20 on a Saturday as well. Consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential. And then thirdly, I study every day. I pay attention to and give attention to the coincidences I want, usually using my calendar by studying what I have planned, what I don't have planned, and my sleep. Sleep's the number one habit that we all share. Very critical to study that as well. Anyway, I walk outside of my house at 4:30 in the morning after I've meditated and got ready to go to the gym, and my 17-year-old daughter's car is missing. Now, I immediately go into ego-based consciousness. I go into ego-based consciousness, and I'm about to call her and say, where the F are you? Where the F is your car? And then I'm ferocious Buddha. I stop. I drop. I ask myself, why am I so angry? Why are you so mad? And I realize I'm not mad. I'm scared. I'm scared something's happened to the most important people in my life who I'm responsible for. And so I breathe and I put myself into that expression of genius, into the light, the love, and the lessons that I'm supposed to learn. And I go ahead and dial. And sure enough, my daughter answers at 4:30 in the morning. And I say, hello. She said, hi. I said, where are you? She said, I'm in my bed. Where are you? I'm like, I'm outside and your car's missing. Oh yeah, Daddy, you told me when kids were drinking that I should Uber home, that I should never get in a car with anyone drinking. Oh, thank God you're all right. I'm so proud of you. Oh, I love you, Daddy. I love you too. Bye. Now, this story may not seem to relate to building an audience, a brand, a frequency, but it certainly does, because the interference that it causes is the exact same interference that people see and hear and feel when you are not truthful. Because if I would have called her up in ego-based consciousness and said, where the F are you? She would have said, in my room. And I would have said, where the F is your car? And she would have said, well, kids are drinking, Dad. And you told me kids are drinking. I should have went home. You were drinking. I'm going to take your car. I'm going to take your phone. Dad, that's not fair. You want fair? Go to Del Mar for the horses. This is not fair. You're going to lose your phone and your car. I'm not hearing another word. Dad, F you, bye. Now, if that's not bad enough, the next time kids are drinking, she would have thought to herself, man, I don't want to disappoint my dad. I don't want to make him angry. I don't want to lose my car or my phone. So I'm just going to jump in the car. And if she jumped in that car, her life could change forever. My life could change forever. And so could someone else's. If you allow the ego to get in the way of your authentic self and capturing who you are, modifying it in the appropriate manner, amplifying it to the right spectrum with that strong signal and clear message to perpetually represent your expression of genius, your evolution. If you can do that, I promise you, you will build a brand. If you enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of it, you will build a brand and a community that you've never even imagined. I appreciate everybody's time. Please join me every Friday for free training, david@dmeltzer.com. I want to thank Bernardo, as well as the best You EXPO. There's no better place that I'd be. Thank you so much.
David, thank you so much for your time, your generosity, your wisdom, and you always give and over deliver. So thank you so much. I'm really grateful. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you for the opportunity. Take care.
Thank you so much.
For more information, go to www.thebestyou.co.